It's your boy, Amreezy, and I'm back with another Road to Sorare Boss episode where we follow my journey in the wonderful world of Sorare. If that sounds like your kind of thing, you're in the right place. We talk all things Sorare. We look at my lineups. I talk about Sorare, give my thoughts, scout players, tell you why I've bought certain cards. If that sounds like your kind of thing, give me a like and a subscribe. It'd help me out massively. Let's start this week's video by talking about that it's an international break. Now, later in the video, I'm going to show you a few new cards that I bought. I didn't buy any new cards last week, but I feel like with the international break arriving, there is the possibility for a few bargains. I think a lot of people are impulsive, and how I play Sorare is I look for bargains, I look for opportunities where I can get cards slightly cheaper. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm playing in the short term. I'm not buying Haaland, Salah, De Bruyne, all of the top stars and then rolling them out. I'm trying to be a bit more clever with my budget. And the international break, I think, is a great time because people are impulsive. People have had 3 weeks of the Premier League, 3 weeks of a lot of the European leagues. Now there's a break. All of the cards that they bought that didn't really do well, I feel like they're going to try and sell. I feel like there's a few opportunities here. So I'll show you my thinking about the cards that I bought and the cards that I'm looking to buy a little bit later. But let's start, as we always start, by looking at how I did last weekend in the wonderful, great, amazing, fun world of Sorare. So this is how I did last weekend in what was August the 30th to September the 3rd. And it was a good week. I think it was a good week. I won 3 boxes. So I topped up my essence, which is now at 63. I am going for a tier 3 card, I think. And then I'm going to probably go for tier 5s and 4s after, because I've seen that a lot of people are having bad cards in tier 1 and 2 and it's not worth saving up. Better to just go for the lower ones. So I'm going to try tier 3 first. I'm on 63. I won 3 boxes this week, which boosted that essence nicely. No cards, unfortunately, but it could have been. At one point, it looked like my under 23 lineup was going to give me a card. That was my best lineup. So let's start from the bottom up, shall we? So the under 23 lineup won me a box, I think a 4-star box, where I got a nice chunk of essence from that, but no card. But yeah, 440th finish. Elliot Anderson is looking like a nice little card. He's playing for Nottingham Forest. He's playing every week. They signed him for a relatively big fee from Newcastle for someone of his age. And it looks like they're going to trust him for the start of the season. He's got an 80. He's been doing well. He's given me a few good scores. His L15 is 76. So he could be a great card for my under 23 lineups. Possibly even a Premier League lineup when Nottingham Forest have a really good fixture. He could be considered. Destiny Udogie, once again, is the weak link in this team. I thought he had one good week about 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I thought, okay, this is it. Udogie's back. But he's not back. So he kind of let me down, really. If he'd have given me a better score, we would have won a card. And he was the last player to play. So these 4 players all played. It seems like that's the way. 4 players give me good scores. And I've got one guy, Destiny Udogie. I think he was playing on Sunday afternoon. And I was sort of keeping an eye on that game. It was the same time as the Chelsea game, so I wasn't fully watching it. But hoping for a good score from him. It didn't deliver, so he let me down. Cade Cowell having an amazing season. Once again, another great score from Cade Cowell. He is another one who's doing really well for my under-23s, but should maybe be in my contender lineups when I kind of need him, when Chivas have a really good fixture like they did this week against Juarez. 5-0 win for Chivas. They're looking good this year. And Cade Cowell is going to have a good season, I think. And then Yanni Stukas, also for Genk, having a great season. 62 from him. He's been having a good score, a good season. I think 62 is not even one of his best scores lately. Yeah, he's at a 75, a 70. So he started the season well as well. So hoping a few of these young cards can keep developing nicely, keep picking up points, but happy with all 4 of these cards. Maybe not Destiny Udogie. I might need possibly a new defender in the under 23 region. I just feel like Udogie seems like my best one because he's really attacking and has a high ceiling. If he gets an assist, if he gets a goal involvement, he could be a really exciting player, but a bit of a slow start of the season from him. Then we'll work our way up. Contender did okay. Well, one of them got relegated. I got relegated from Division 1 in Contender. My Burgos boys let me down. I expected better. They lost 2-0. 47 from Sanchez, 46 from Sanchez. Not great from them. Better scores from the goalkeeper, who once again kept a clean sheet. Kasten Meyer is a really good goalkeeper. POV 68, an okay score from him. By his high standards, we do expect a little bit better. And then Marquez, I think his lowest score this season. So wasn't a great score for my contender division. That saw me got relegated from Division 1. My other Division 1 team was safe, just about. This was mainly a Necaxa stack. The goalkeeper let me down. The striker let me down. The Paradella obviously never lets me down. Montez as well. These two are usually reliable Necaxa players. Cambindo, not been having a great season. I'm worried he might be replaced in the team if he keeps his form up. And then Villapando was my Juarez player that I kind of thought maybe, even though I'm expecting them to lose to Chivas, maybe he does something, maybe he gets an assist, maybe, you know, Mexican teams, even when in the Liga MX, it's like a team you expect to win, usually it's like 5-2, 4-1. So I thought maybe if they get a goal, he'll be involved, but they didn't. Challenger did okay. Challenger, I got promoted to Division 3. I won some essence again. I won a box. And Nejli, another good under-23 card. Either I play him in the under-23s or I play him in Challenger. He's a little bit like Cade Cowell, where I feel like I've got two good under-23 strikers now, and it's just about working out which one I put in which division. So I felt okay about this lineup, and they all did okay. A bit of a shame that Atuesta didn't do great at LAFC. They lost 2-0. If they'd have got one goal, chances is he might have been involved. But I'm encouraged with LAFC this season. They have signed a few good players. They've got a few big names. So I'm hoping that Atuesta, my defender, Ocampos, are kind of good options. All four of the other cards, though, encouraging. Samudio continues his good form in Turkey. Castro Montes continues to be a great pick for Uni and SG, 99 from him. And then Bilal in goal, 68 score from him. Not bad, not bad. He did really bad. I think he got like 15 points the week before, so good to see him get a clean sheet and a more positive score. In the Premier League, I went for Chelsea. I banked on Chelsea, thinking Crystal Palace at home would be a great fixture for them, especially after they'd just beaten Wolves 6-2 in the Premier League. As usual, Chelsea have not hit a rhythm yet. They're still disappointing me. But Cole Palmer delivered. The rest of them didn't. Madueke, I was kind of hoping for a big performance from him. Cucurella and Fernandez, again, small scores from them. And then Nick Pope. Nick Pope is, because I don't have a Chelsea goalkeeper, Nick Pope is the one that I put with them. I didn't think he'd keep a clean sheet against Spurs, but I did think he'd get a lot of goal involvement, a lot of saves. And if we look at that, he made 6 saves, 12 points just from that. 4 dive saves, 12 points from that. So I did think he'd have a good game, a lively game, and he did okay. 60 points is okay. And then in my mixed bag, I didn't bank on West Ham because they had Manchester City. And I was right to do that because they lost 3-1 to Manchester City. So instead, I went for a bit of a mixed bag. I went for Ben Johnson because he played the previous game for Ipswich. So I thought maybe he's in the first team now. He's not in the first team. Breaking news. Ben Johnson is not going to be a card I can play with any certainty now. It seems that him and sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but Taz Nwebe, it seems like they're rotating at Ipswich at right back. Sometimes it's Ben Johnson, sometimes it's him. So until it seems like one of them has that position nailed down, I am going to have to stop playing Ben Johnson in my lineups. I am a little bit excited about Ipswich. They had 2 really tricky games at the start of the season. I think Liverpool and Man City. And they got a good point against Fulham. And from the highlights that I saw, they could have got more goals. They do look lively. Liam Delap looks like a good player. So I do have Ben Johnson from Ipswich. I've signed another Ipswich player that I'll show you in a bit. I'm going to be sort of cautiously hoping that Ipswich can be the team from the promoted teams this year that can do the best. So I'm going to hope Ben Johnson gets back in the team later. And I've got another Ipswich player, which I'll show you later. Then I've got Kudos and Areola at West Ham. Areola went off injured at half-time, which was really annoying for me. I do have Fabianski, so if that injury is serious, Fabianski will come into the team and I'll be able to play the West Ham goalkeeper still. This justifies my buying of Fabianski a while ago. It helped with my West Ham collection bonus. But also, it proves that it's good to have the number one goalkeeper and the backup. If you can get the backup for like 50p, 70p, I think I bought Fabianski for really cheap. So Fabianski came in off the bench, but obviously that was this game ruined for me with him not playing and the keeper coming off in 45 minutes. Nkunku seems like he's not going to be Chelsea's first team player in the Premier League, which is a bit annoying for me, considering I paid a relatively high amount for him, considering he's one of my more expensive cards that I bought. It seems like he may be first team in the European games, and in the Premier League, he might not be first team. I'm gonna have to see, but it seems like Nkunku's got some work to do to get back in that Chelsea first team. With that in mind, I'll probably not play him in as many Premier League lineups for the next few weeks, and then we'll see how he does. Dwight McNeil, on the other hand, Everton had a crazy game against Bournemouth. They were 2-0 up, and on the 87th minute, they were winning 2-0 at 87 minutes, threw the game away, lost 3-2. However, I am optimistic on Everton. I think, and this is going to tie in with what I'm telling you later about my cards, the bargains that I think are there to be had in the international break. I think Everton are a team that could be there, because Everton should have won this game by more goals than 2. I still think they're a good team. They're missing a few players with injury. Braithwaite, James Garner, both out with injury, and they still looked like they were good against Bournemouth. Even though they lost, they looked like they were good. And my thinking is, if you back Everton a little bit now, don't go full 5-man stack, but get a few Everton cards. That's what I'm going to be doing to go along with Dwight McNeil, because either they continue to play well like they did against Bournemouth, and that was a one-off, unlucky game, or they sack the manager in a few maybe weeks or months, and they get a new manager in, and they've got a good squad there. They've just signed a striker. Calvert-Lewin looked a bit lively at the weekend. They've got a sort of solid team, good defense, good goalkeeper, creative wingers. I think if a new manager comes in, he could do better with the team, or this is a one-off blip. Everton have had a tricky start to the season. Dwight McNeil putting up a good score, even though they lost 3-2. So I think Dwight McNeil is still going to be a good card for me in the remaining weeks. And then last of all, there was this top tacklers competition where I put out 2 not so serious lineups, and then one lineup that I thought was serious. That was this lineup, and Joe Linton let me down again. Joe Linton had a great first game of the season where he scored a goal, had a really good game. The 2 games after that, he's not looked good at all. In terms of Sorare scoring anyway, he's been an okay player for Newcastle in midfield, but not so great. And it's a shame because all 4 of these cards did okay. Conor Gallagher at Atletico Madrid had a good game. Thiago Silva, Santos goalkeeper, made a lot of points in a surprising win for Santos, which was good for me to see. Nathan Silva as well. If Joe Linton had only given me a good score and maybe a better score from these 2, we could have got something, but unfortunately, the special competitions are really hard. They're kind of what I think I'm going to just be throwing my throwaway cards. I think what I've learned from this week is look at my lineups here. Andy Robertson got a 90. Bowen got an 80. I think I'm scattering too many good cards across too many lineups because I want to play in as many competitions as I can, because it's very exciting for me. I've gone from playing 3 or 4 lineups every week to now playing 7 or 8 lineups. But I think what I need to do is really work out where I'm strongest and just really prioritize 1 or 2 lineups and then put some throwaway lineups. So the special lineups, I think considering how many people are playing these, they're going to be really hard to win. So I need to concentrate more on things like the under 23. Basically, where I won boxes this week, which was the under 23 lineup, the challenger lineup. Sometimes the contender lineup gives me a box, and sometimes the Premier League lineup, like this week, gives me a box. So I think I got to really concentrate there. I should have played the likes of Andy Robertson, Bowen, maybe Thiago Silva. I should have played in the challenger lineup. I should have really played those. If I'd have played Thiago Silva here instead of one of these guys, if I'd have played Bowen and if I'd have played Andy Robertson instead of Kukureya and instead of Nkunku, I would have done better. So lesson learned, stop spreading myself thin and start really going for Premier League, challenger and contender. Really going for those leagues and then putting out what I can in the other leagues. So that's how I did last week. And let's take a look at my cards that I'm buying. Now, I did say I think this is so. The last card I bought was Echeverria. That's what I showed you. I've bought 4 more cards now, but I'm scouting a lot of cards in this international break. I'm looking to keep filling out my West Ham collection, and I've done that now with Antonio and Calvin Phillips. That's the West Ham card that I bought. Calvin Phillips. I think Ipswich could be a good team this year. They play really attacking football. They play nice football. They had 2 really tricky games to start the season before Calvin Phillips had joined, Liverpool and Man City. I don't think we can judge them on that. Against Fulham, they did look a lot more lively, and it wasn't the best score for Calvin Phillips, a 31. He played 70 minutes. So it seems like he's going to be a nailed-on starter for Ipswich. I don't think they would have got him in on loan if they didn't plan to play him first team. I think he's good for them. And I think there's a good player in Calvin Phillips. He didn't quite work for him at West Ham last year. He's had a bit of... He needs a team like Ipswich to really prove himself. And in that midfield, he's going to be involved a lot more. He's going to be making more tackles, more passes. I think he's worth a gamble. And I didn't pay much for him. I paid 90p for him. So I think Calvin Phillips at 90p. Antonio at... how much did I get Antonio for? I think I traded Antonio for the card that I won in the box like 2 weeks ago, a Japanese card that I had no intention of using. I traded him for Antonio, and the reason I did that is because Antonio's been starting all of West Ham's 3 games of the season. I do think he won't start beyond that. I think Fulkrong will be the starting striker, but I think it does show the manager wants to play with a proper number 9 striker, and Antonio is a little bit like that. Fulkrong will be like that, but if Fulkrong gets injured, if Fulkrong gets a red card, I'll be pretty certain that Antonio will play the next week. And also, with lots of fixtures, with cup games, Antonio could still have a big part to play. And also, these 2 cards, Phillips and Antonio, they help my West Ham collection, which is almost at 3% now. I think it's going to hit 3% any day. So they help with my West Ham collections. I'm running out of West Ham cards to buy that I think could be useful. So these 2 could be my last 2 useful West Ham cards. This card that I bought a while ago, Maxwell Cornet, he got a move to Southampton. So keep an eye on Maxwell Cornet, moved to Southampton on sort of near the deadline day. He might get a game or 2 after the international break. So let's keep an eye on him. Again, he helps with my West Ham collection, but at Southampton, could do really well. The other cards that I bought were Efren Alvarez since this start of the season. A 92 and a 79 from Efren Alvarez. He's an under 23 card, so I could play him in my under 23 league as a midfielder, or I could play him in the contender. He's in the Mexican league, so rubs hands together excitedly. He could be a really good card in the future. This is an investment, I think, in the future, but also showed in the last 3 games that on his day, he hits the high scores, 89, 91. Bit of a slump towards the end of the season last year, but he's picked up this season with some good form. So I'm hoping Efren Alvarez, I bought him for 50p. 50p I got him for. I think that's a nice little bargain. Again, off-season, international break. I think there's going to be a lot of players who are kind of frustrated selling their cards. There's a few bargains to be had. The last one is James Garner. Now, he's injured. There was talk that maybe he'd return after the international break. Maybe that would be the week he returns. I have seen some talk from Sondai saying it's a little bit too early for him. He might need an extra week before he can return. And I think the exact same is with Jared Braithwaite. I had to just think because I've got a bid at the moment on Jared Braithwaite that I'm hoping gets accepted. So I'm hoping to bring in James Garner and Braithwaite from Everton. I think they're 2 really good young players. I think if Everton pick up their form, once they come back in the team, they're going to make Everton better. I'm also looking at Calvert-Lewin. I'm also thinking I've got Dwight McNeil. A little mini Everton stack I think could be good for after the international break. I think continuing to go for West Ham players could be good after the international break. I'm looking at Fulkrong because Fulkrong hasn't played. Let's take a look at what Fulkrong's going for. They're these type of players. So Fulkrong hasn't played. So there's going to be people. Look at his price. It's gone down now to £4.61. He hasn't really played. He's been coming off the bench in the first 3 games of the season. So he's given 3 bad scores. but I think he's going to be a West Ham starter after the international break. So I'm monitoring his price, waiting to see if there's more people that get frustrated with him, because people will have bought him before the Premier League season started thinking he's going to be West Ham's main guy. I think in the international break, we're going to see frustrated managers looking to sell cards. So the likes of Everton, West Ham, Ipswich, these are teams where I'm looking for their best players, like Delap at Ipswich, like Fulkrug at West Ham. And I'm looking for bargains. I'm looking for, when's this going to go lower? Can I get them down to £3 or £4? And I'm basically looking across the European leagues at players who have been injured or haven't started the season well. There's a few at Chelsea who haven't started the season well or haven't been getting played. And I think the international break's a great time to pick up some bargains. So those are the 4 that I've currently bought. I've got a few more bids that are currently out there in the world. I'm not going to spend too much. I won't be adding any more funds. I'll probably be trying to spend about £13. If I don't spend it, I'm not desperate to spend that money. I think I'm in a good place. But yeah, those are the collections I'm looking to build as well. So that's how I did last week. Those are the cards I bought since last week. Let's finish this week's video by taking a look at my not so exciting lineups for this weekend coming up. Okay, here we go, guys. These are my lineups for the coming weekend, which is September the 6th to the 10th, and it's an international break, which is usually really bad for me. I don't have any goalkeepers that play international football. I didn't quite realize it was that bad until this international break, because I picked up a few Premier League goalkeepers in the kind of off season before the Premier League started. I was hoping 1 or 2 of them would play international football. They don't. But it's okay. International football is not where I'm focusing my efforts. I've got a few cards here and there, and I'm kind of hoping that there's going to be weeks where there's international football and Mexican football or La Liga 2 or Bundesliga 2, so I can play some international cards and some contender challenger cards. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. So there is a special competition again. All-Star Special is back for this week. So I've put out these 5. This is probably my best lineup. That Areola, maybe he gets a game for France. I don't think he will. But if he does, he's got 2 chances. There's 2 games for France. I don't think he's going to play, though. So I'm hoping that these 4 cards do really well and we scrape a reward. It's unlikely, but maybe we get a box. So the Burgos boys I'm going to be going for, and then Cucurella's playing for Spain against Switzerland, Kovacic's playing for Croatia against Poland. So they're probably my 4 best cards, but 0 hopes this week of winning anything. There's also another special, the Fighting Special that I've put out, which again, no playing goalkeeper. Nick Pope, I don't think he'll get a game, and then a no playing goalkeeper. So the only serious 4 cards are these guys. Portugal's backup guys. Maybe Portugal rest a few players and play Felix and Neto. Munoz for Colombia, maybe. Paulinho for Portugal, maybe if they rest a few players. Madueke and Palmer, again, if England rest a few players against Ireland, it's going to be a new manager, Lee Carsley, managing England for the first time. Maybe he wants to try a few players that he knows could maybe prove themselves. Madueke and Palmer could be those 2 players. Robertson should get a game for Scotland, and then Souček should get a game against Georgia. That could be a winnable game for Czech Republic. And then with the Fighting Special rules, maybe Souček's the kind of guy that gets involved. I think the Fighting Special is players that get booked get more points. So Souček should get booked. Robertson's usually involved in things. Paulinho's usually involved in things. So that's my loose thinking in this lineup, but I've not spent too much time thinking about that. And they're my only lineups for this weekend coming up, really. It's not going to be an exciting week for me. I'll be playing Rivals, I think, more this weekend. This will be a Rivals-heavy weekend for me where, say, Madueke and Palmer play for England, and I can play them against other Rivals card. I think this will be a Rivals-heavy week for me because the pro teams are not that exciting. So yeah, this weekend coming up is going to be mainly me scouting the market, looking for more bargains, looking at where players are frustrated. If you've got any ideas of cards that I should be looking at buying, let me know there. Let me know in the comments any potential bargains along the lines of how I've been thinking. The likes of Fulkrug, the likes of Braithwaite and James Garner, those kind of players where there's potential bargains. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. I always appreciate the comments massively. There was a comment in the last week comment, by the way, that said I'd done some good Premier League goalkeeping scouting, which I really appreciated. And I replied to that comment saying that I think only Sam Johnston. Let's look at Premier League. We're going to end this week's video by looking at Premier League goalkeepers that I have. I've got 7 Premier League goalkeepers, and I bought all of these basically before the season started. Apart from Bettinelli, which was 4 months ago, and Nick Pope, which was 3 months ago. But Nick Pope and Ramsdale I bought at the end of last season in anticipation for this season. And I replied to the comment in last week's video saying, I think Sam Johnston is the only goalkeeper I have that I bought that didn't pay off, that isn't playing. Then I saw he got him moved to Wolves on like deadline day, and he was playing. So even him, a 45, he's playing for Wolves. So Sam Johnston paid off. I bought him for... I traded a card that I wasn't using in Turkey, who was worth about £2 and 50p for Sam Johnstone. Very nice. Now he's a Premier League playing goalkeeper. Ramsdale now playing at Bournemouth. Is he at Bournemouth? Southampton. Nick Pope stayed at Newcastle, didn't move. I got him a little bit cheaper because he was injured at the time. Bettinelli is just a backup for my Chelsea collection. Areola and Fabianski are the number 1 and 2 at West Ham. So Areola, if he's injured, Fabianski will come in. And then Kepa, who I bought, again, to help with my Chelsea collection, but also on the off chance he moved, he's gone to Bournemouth, where he's a playing Premier League goalkeeper. So I've got a lot of Premier League goalkeepers. So that's in response to last week's comment about my Premier League goalkeepers. I thought I'd give you more of a explained visual look at my goalkeepers. So I do have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Premier League playing goalkeepers. So that's going to cover 3 Premier League lineups and champion. I might be able to expand a little further this year into classic champion. So that's something to think about. That's it. That's this week, guys. Good luck with your international breaks. I hope they're a little bit more exciting than mine. I'll see you next week. Peace.